Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we will dive into world of data manipulation with pandas. Mainly we will focus on how we can use pandas to merge instead of doing a manual VLOOKUP in Excel. This is very easy to use with just a few lines of Python code. So let's get started. Now before I start, let me show you first what left merge is and how we can use that instead of VLOOKUP. So here in the image we have this one table and here is the other table. Now what we want to do is whatever data we have in table 1, we want to find related rows in table 2 and import that data into final merged table. And that's what we do in Excel VLOOKUP as well, right? We have one Excel sheet with some data, and then we have second Excel sheet with some additional data. In both Excel sheet, we will have one common column, right? And then we will use that common column to match the data in the second sheet and bring it into the first Excel sheet. So we can, that way we can bring some additional attribute for the same ID from the second Excel sheet to the first Excel sheet. This left join basically does the same thing, right? There are other types of join as well, right? But in this one, we will only focus on specifically into left join, right? Meaning we will find the data related to rows into table 1 from table 2. Second Excel file might have some additional data. We are not worried about that. We will only going to find whatever is the matching data that is related to Excel sheet 1 or table 1. Without going into too much theory, let's get started and coding. Alright, so throughout this tutorials, we will use a Jupyter lab so that we can inspect and analyze our data right away. So if you don't have a Jupyter lab installed in your laptop, you can just install by running this command in your terminal or command prompt. You just have to type pip or pip3 Jupyter lab and then press enter. I already have it installed, so I will not press enter. We will also install another package called Pandas. This is whole and soul of what we are trying to do. Pandas is basically a data analysis library. It's very powerful and used nowadays throughout data science and artificial intelligence. So it's really good to learn how pandas work. To install it, you can just type pip install pandas, hit enter, and it will get installed. I already have Jupyter lab and pandas installed, so I will not hit enter. Once you install both library, now we need to start a Jupyter lab. To start a Jupyter lab, you can type Jupyter lab and then hit enter. As soon as you press enter, it will show up this type of screen in your default browser. For this tutorial, we will use notebook. So right under the notebook, just click on Python 3 terminal. Once you click on that, you should see something like this. And here we can start writing our code. Now, before we start writing a code, let's look at our Excel sheets. So here is our Excel sheet 1. In this one, we have ID, first name, last name, and email, right? And in the second Excel sheet, this is our second Excel sheet. In here, we have ID, city, state, car maker, and car model. Now what we want to do is bring the data from this sample data 2 Excel sheet to this sample data 1 Excel sheet using the ID, which is basically what we do in VLOOKUP. Now to just make this sample data more realistic, what I have done is in here in data sheet 1, we have IDs from 1 to 100. And in data sheet 2, what I have done is I intentionally deleted some of the IDs. So for example, here I have deleted the ID number 10, and here directly it starts from ID number 24 to 55. So everything from 25 to 54 has been deleted. Also in data 2, we have these two additional IDs 101 and 102, which are not available in sample data 1. Now let's start writing a code. So first thing we will need to do is import pandas. So we can say import pandas as PD. Let me zoom this a little bit. And to execute the code, you can click on this play button, or in your keyboard you can press Shift and Enter key. In here I will enter Shift and Enter key, and you can see we did not get any error. You can just use import pandas as well, but this is kind of an convention most developer follows. So we always import pandas as PD, so that we can write all the commands start with PD dot something. Now we will import our Excel datasheet into pandas. So let's first import sample datasheet 1. So you can say sample data 1, and this is the variable, so you can use any name. Usually most of the time convention to use the DF, which stands for data frame, right? Since we have 2 Excel files, I'll plan to use something like sample data 1, and in here we will say PD dot read Excel, and here you can type the file name. For us it's sample data 1.xlsx, and then you can hit enter or press Shift and Enter on your keyboard. So we did not get any error, and this variable is successfully created, or data frame is successfully created. Now if you want to see whether our data is imported or not, you can quickly say sample data 1 dot head, and if you run this command, you can see now we have it will show you some sample data. It's basically showing you first 5 rows of the data. You can also specify how many rows you want to see here, so you can just say head 2 and you will see the first 2 rows of that data frame. Now similarly, let's also import our second Excel sheet. In here we can say PD dot read Excel, and then in here we're gonna bring our sample data 2. Hit enter, and again let's make sure our data is correctly brought in here, so we can use the head command and then just check first couple of row. Looks like we have all the data in here. Now let's merge both data frames. So there are a couple different ways you can do is, first you can say here is sample data 1 dot merge, and in here you need to specify what is the second table. So if you remember, we have 2 tables. On the left there was 1 table, on the right we have second table. It's data frame, table, Excel file, all of those are tabular data forms, so you can use any terminology to be honest. But in here the sample data 1 is this left side table, and sample data 2 is basically this right side table or circle. So in our case, this left side circle is sample data 1 and this right side circle is sample data 2. So in our case, we want to merge sample data 2 with sample data 1. So the command is sample data 1 merge, and here we need to add sample data 2, and then we have to specify couple of additional things. First we need to specify a common attribute between both columns. Using that we can merge the both data frames or both table. It's basically similar to VLOOKUP, where you need to have a unique key to match the data between one Excel sheet and the second Excel sheet. In here our common key that we can use for matching data is ID. So we can say here on, and in here we can say ID. The second parameter you need to pass here is how you want to do the merge. Essentially there are different type of merge, like left merge or right merge. You can do inner merge, you can do outer merge. There are different type of merges you can do in pandas. We will explore those additional type of merges in other tutorials, but for now we will just say how, and in here we need to specify type of merge. In our case it's gonna be left. Once you do that, right, you can just execute the command and you will get the output. But instead of executing it, let's save it into a separate variable. So we'll call it merged data, right? And then this command, and then we'll execute it. We did not get any error. That means we have this merged data created. Now if I go ahead and create this, look at this merged data head, or let's just look at first two columns. You can see here our merged data has ID, first name, email, city, state, car, and model. So basically this is a superset of sample data 1 and sample data 2. Now we can export this merged data into an Excel file, and there is easy way to do that in Pandas. So we can just say merged data dot to Excel, and in here we can say let's save it as merge data dot xlsx, save it, and just execute the command. So this will save the data into Excel format. Let me open that file. So here is our data. So you can see here we have all of the column from file 1 and file 2. Now here we have an additional column. This is basically an index column that Pandas automatically add. If you don't want to save it, right, what you can do is you can just, let's go back to our code, and in here you can add a command index equal to false, and then re-execute it. Now if we go back and reopen our Excel sheet, you can see additional column has been gone. We have all of the columns that we had in both files. Now let's look at another way to do this. So let me add a new cell in here, and we'll create another variable. We'll call it merge data 1, and in here we will use slightly different syntax, and we can, in this case we can say pd.merge, and first specify the left side table or left side data frame, right? So in that one it's sample data 1, and then you need to specify right side data frame or a right table. In our case that's a sample data 2, and after that we still have to specify on parameter and also the how parameter, which is remains same as the previous syntax. So if you can see here, right, compared to this previous one, we started sample data 1 dot merge. In here we are saying pd.merge and then specifying both tables. This syntax essentially going to do the same thing, no difference. It's just a different way to write the code, right? So let's execute this code and then save this merge data 1, and let's name it merge data underscore 1 index false, and this should create a new file. So let me open that file, and as you can see again we have the same result. Now here I wanted to call out couple of important things. First, remember we don't have some of the data available in the Excel sheet 2. So wherever the data is not available in Excel sheet 2, we'll find that data is a blank from ID number 25 to all the way till ID number 54. We don't have any data related to those columns in Excel sheet 2. That's why it's empty. Another thing, important thing I want to call out here is, so for in Excel sheet 2, we have data for ID number 101 and 102, which did not came into this merge data set. Why? Because our Excel file 1 did not have 101 and 102. That's why it didn't bring the data. So it's essentially basically similar to VLOOKUP, where you are bringing whatever data you need from file 2 to file 1. Now here you will say you are bringing all of the columns. We are basically merging the file 1 and bringing all the column from file 2 to file 1. There might be an instance where you want to bring only subset of data from file 2. How we can do that? Let's see that. So let's go back to our code. Now what we can do in here, let's create another merge. We'll call it merge data 2, and in here let's use the merge syntax, and we will keep all of the columns into sample data 1, and for sample data 2 let's keep it as is for now, specify all other parameters, and then we'll come back to understand how we can only bring the subset of column. So if you just want to bring a subset of column, in our sample data 2, we have city, state, car maker and car model. But we don't care, let's say we don't care about car maker and car model. We just want to bring city and state from sample data set 2 to sample data set 1. So in that case, what we can do in here, we can specify those specific column. And to do that, what you need to do is first have a square bracket, and inside that we need to specify a list of column. So we'll add that list of column in here, and in our case it's a city and state. Here just one important thing, remember this is a square bracket inside a square brackets. Basically we need to specify all of the column as a list. If you are adding just a one column, that's fine. If you are trying to import multiple column, you'll need to always specify that as a list. Now if I execute this code, I'm gonna get the error, but I just wanted to show you that error as well so that you understand. Now if I execute this, it throws an key error mentioning that it could not found an ID. But we know that there is an ID column in sample data 2 and sample data 1. Then why did it happen? It happens because now we are matching sample data 1 with sample data 2 with just with city and state in sample data 2. We are not bringing, or we are not specifying the ID column. That's why it's throwing an error. That's why even if you don't need to bring an ID, still need to specify the ID column. So even if you want to bring city and state, since we are matching both Excel file or data frame with ID, you always need to specify that column in here. And after you specify that column, you can press an enter, and this time voila, we do not get any error. So let's go ahead and save that into Excel file. Press an enter. We did not get any error. Let me just update the name here as well, and then press an enter. So now we have merged data 2 as well. If I open that, you can see in this new Excel file, we have all of the columns from file 1, but from file 2, we have only city and state. So we dropped car maker and car model column. We did not bring that from file 2 to file 1. So this is how you can easily do left merge in Pandas with very few line of code. You will not need to write more than 10 line of code basically to do a data merges. And you can do this type of merges with multiple data frames, multiple Excel files, as long as you have that matching column. And sometimes VLOOKUP can be very tricky, especially if you're trying to bring, let's say, 5-6 different columns from second file to first file. You will need to do VLOOKUP for each column. Can be a bit tricky. Versus in Pandas, you just need to specify the columns you want to bring, and it will automatically bring it for you. So that's how you can use VLOOKUP, or more specifically left merge in Pandas. If you like this video, please hit thumbs up button and share with others. Also, please subscribe to our channel if you like our content. We try very hard to create this tutorial, and your like and subscribe gives us motivation to keep going. Thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial.